Activated by Temperance Spirits. Temperance Spirits, creating a space for change.
Oh my gosh, this team stinks, Zach. This is not the game we wanted to start for our first dynamic duo cast, but we're here. What happened? Oh my god, what a collapse.
Just a calamity of errors, man. Like, leading 3-2, going into the third. All the momentum on your side, despite what you think of a couple of the goals that happened in the first. Like, you had Campbell actually play decent in the second. Oh, I shouldn't say decent. Like, very well.
He was great in the second.
Yeah, exactly. He played really good. Now, I will say there were a couple posts by Kaprizov, some wide open nets missed by the Wild. There were a lot of messed up defensive assignments by the Oilers. I felt like the Wild had a slot shot every 2 minutes, but like, man, they looked good. Like, this to me is the best that the Oilers have looked this year. Like, yeah. I don't even know, like, outside of Nashville, but just so many things went wrong. Now, I will say they did score a goal in the third period, so we do have that to be excited about. But beyond that, off the back. Man, oh my god! Like, and it's funny because before, like, in the second intermission, I was kind of getting ready for the show, and I started writing down. Oh, I thought Nurse was playing well. Fogle was playing out of his mind. Like, you would have thought that was Connor McDavid dressed in the 37 jersey, but the amount of chances he was creating.
He closed off the 3 on his jersey. He just became 97. Next game, he's going to be wearing the McDavid jersey. But yeah, you were going off in the chat, literally just listing guys. Like, half the team was doing great. And then the third period just was a monumental collapse. 1 goal for us. Great. That's the only third period goal we've had so far. And then 5 against. There's an empty netter in there, but fine. Whatever. Like, it's just unacceptable. This team stinks right now.
I don't know what the issue. Well, actually, you know what? Again, we can go up and down the lineup, and we can go point to, okay, we can have a conversation about Bouchard. We can have a conversation about Adam Ernie, and there's, conversations that need to happen about a number of things that went wrong and a number of players on the roster tonight. But again, I said this to you right before the show starts. Take away that empty netter goal. 6-4. How many of those goals would you like Campbell to have? At least 2 of them. That one that he couldn't cover in the first, that wild goal right at the end of the first period, where you lose all the momentum for your team going in the intermission. It's tied 2-2 rather than, you're obviously up by a goal without McDavid. It's a huge momentum swing. He can't cover it. Wild score. Then later in the game, I don't know what that rush was. I believe it was the 5-3 goal by Ryan Hartman, just right under Campbell. Giant save, and Campbell again. He finished tonight with
the 4-on-4 one, right? The 6-4
one. Yeah, 6-4. My bad.
Yeah, just 6-4. That just absolutely killed it. And
800 save percentage.
800 for Campbell, 862 for Gustafsson. It's not like this was an unwinnable game. It's not like we got goal lead.
Okay, yeah. And one thing I just want to say, because I already see people in the chat talking about Bouchard, and we can have a Bouchard conversation. The thing with Bouchard, yes, there were some glaring defensive issues. The first couple goals for the Wild, yes, Bouchard should have been way stronger in defensive zone, lost his guy. He was not hard on the puck, lost puck battles, Wild pick it up, score, easy goals in front. The 4-on-4 goal, should Bouchard have gone for that pinch there? Debatable. But at the end of the day, Campbell should have that.
Yeah.
But again, without Bouchard tonight, where would they be? He scored the first goal.
They'd be short
2
too.
Primary assists. Like,
yeah,
you can't point this all on Bouchard, man.
No,
like, this isn't a Bouchard problem. This is a Jack Campbell problem, man.
It's not just Campbell. It's not just Bouchard. It's the entire team, save for a few select members. Every third period, they look like they're drunk. And you know what? That's a perfect segue over to our sponsor, Temperance Spirits, creating a space for change. You're watching Game Over Edmonton, your source for the best analysis of the Edmonton Oilers from the 23-24 season. Game Over Edmonton is pleased to announce our title sponsor for this season, Temperance Spirits, Edmonton's preferred non-alcoholic beverage retailer. And that might be what the Oilers need right now. Temperance curates a vast selection of local craft non-alcoholic options. Choose from a selection of beers, wines, mocktails, and spirits. We believe that a social lifestyle does not require the consumption of alcohol. To celebrate Sober October, enjoy 10% off some of our favorite beverages. Let's raise a toast to being sober this October. You can find Temperance Spirits online at www.temperance-spirits.com and follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Temperance Spirits. We are back, Zach. Thank you so much for your patience there. Look, this team is just, they have these fantastic periods, but so far they haven't been able to put together 3 periods. I would say even like 2 periods in order to win a game, right? That's the key difference right now, is they're only sparking like the brilliance that you normally see out of Oilers hockey. It's only happening 1 period per game, and that's just not good enough. Like, going into this season, we were going to say this is the top 6 of your dreams. Like, no team in the NHL has a more powerful top 6, and right now our big acquisition in Connor Brown is on the 3rd line, if that. Sometimes, I mean, honestly, he's been doing very, very little for a star.
Literally nothing.
Basically nothing. Like, the issue is you're kind of locked to these guys right now. There's no amount of movement. We're right up against the cap. There's nothing you can really do here.
No, there's nothing you could do. It's, well, if you waive if you waive Ernie, then you could at least bring someone up, because, oh my God, like another brain dead play when he's out on the 4th line. Every time he touches the ice, I'm so nervous, because a couple of the multiple wild goals came from or at least one came from Adam Ernie, missed defensive assignment. He's covering Derek Ryan for some reason. The wild defenseman walks right down the wall, unobstructed, sets up the goal. They were amazing with those slot passes and stuff, and the shot pass tips, whatever, onto Campbell, and Campbell wasn't really stopping much, regardless of how you think the Oilers defense played. But again, there's just so many issues. There's so many guys that had a decent preseason, guys in the minors, like tonight, who scored goals. Ben Gleason, Lane Peterson, Raphael Lavoie, guys with speed, guys who can shoot, guys who have skills that possess things that this team so clearly lacked. And they're just not doing anything about it. And last game, the Oilers lose again. We're bitching and complaining about Janmark on the 2nd line. What do? Put Mattias Janmark on the 1st line. Now, what I will say, honestly, pleasantly surprised with Mattias Janmark's game tonight.
Tonight was not
close
bad.
to the problem. First goal, amazing screen in front, Bouchard slap shot. First goal by an Oilers defenseman in the 1st minute since Jeff Petrie in 2014 against Buffalo. And the Oilers were rolling, but they just can't help themselves. And it seems like, and the problem is, this defensive mistakes happen. Bouchard, horrible game defensively. Defensive mistakes happen. They cannot all end up in the back of your net. I get, okay, Campbell made great saves. Campbell was playing like Dominik Hasek. When people say that, I don't necessarily believe that's a compliment. That means you are putting yourself out of position. You are making these saves harder than they have to be. What are you doing sliding all over this? There was a shot where that came from the point, 40 feet out, no one in front, and Jack and Louis start yelling, "Oh my God, what a save by Campbell." Like you texted, who put banana peels in the crease? Like, why is he flopping around in the first place to begin with there? Like, literally, if you're just in position, the puck hits you, no problem. There were so many issues. I don't care. I genuinely don't care what people say. Oh, Darnold Nurse sucked in this. He should have had his man. Oh, the Kulak should have had his man. I thought Kulak had one mistake, but I thought Broberg was great. I thought Vinny was great. I thought Nurse played really well. I thought Cece played really well. Obviously, I think it was a 4-3 goal.
Save a couple times, but hey.
But, like, seriously, you gotta get a save. Again, 6 games this year. They have once had a save percentage over 900.
Okay.
Once. And they won that game.
Here's the thing, right? Like, a ton of the goals came right in front of the crease, and some of them were definitely on Campbell. The one that's most egregious has to be that Hartman one, the one that just capped off the end of the game, like 6-4. You're not coming back from that. Hartman didn't shoot the puck. He just nudged it, and it went right through Campbell. And he had some really good saves, like genuinely good saves in the second period. And those weren't just, they were a little bit showy, fine. There's a little bit of flopping around, but they would have beaten like any NHL goaltender. Campbell was able to save some of those, but that one and the other one I think it was also Hartman in the first period, where Campbell has no control of the rebound. He's leaning forward trying to pounce on that rebound. these sort of mistakes from Campbell and from the defense, for example, Eriksson Ek, that goal, beautiful.
All alone in front.
All alone in front, defenders standing there looking at him. I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if it's something that's in their ears telling them, hey, you know what? You have to watch for these certain situations. And they're so busy watching, they can't react fast enough. But take the body, right? So many of our defenders, they say, we've gotten bigger. We have a bigger and brawnier defense core. The key point of that is to take the body, push guys out of the crease, make it easier on your boy.
We changed the defensive system for exactly this reason, to kind of help our defense that can't pass, and now our team can't score. And obviously they're without Connor McDavid tonight, but 4 goals should be enough to win you a hockey game. This is unacceptable play. There are so many uncharacteristic, like Evan Bouchard did not have a game like this last season. Evan Bouchard does not make these types of defensive mistakes consistently. This year, obviously he has, and it seems like every single one ends up in the back of the net. But this is ridiculous. And I see people talking about the defensive system in the chat, and we'll get to it. One thing I do want to say before we continue, we're already at 19 likes. There's already 93 people watching live. They want to see us melt down after that dog shit performance. So yeah, let's try and hit 74 likes at least during the stream to try and, at least get the score, have some sort of positive tonight.
74 for Stu next game.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get something positive here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but
let's be clear, right? Minnesota is also no defensive stalwart. The fact that we have 4 goals on Minnesota, that's fantastic, but it's not like they win games by holding guys down and just playing in the 2-3 sort of goal area. They are not a defensively good team. So the fact that you just needed to be average defensively to match their level defensively, and you would likely have a good chance of winning this game. But so many goals in this game came from direct egregious mistakes by a defender, by the goaltender, by someone in front. This is an unbelievable sort of scenario for the Edmonton Oilers. There is almost like this lack of cohesion. They're not communicating with each other. People look lost at times in the defensive zone.
There was one goal where all the Oilers are just pointing. I believe it was Eriksson Ek. They're just pointing. Okay, you go there, and no one went there. They're just are you dumb? Someone. The whole point is to cover the front of the net. And not one person is covering the front of the net. There's literally no one there. It's only Minnesota Wild players. It felt like that second period was just wild slot shot. And thank God for Warren Fogle. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say in my entire life. There, he just, again, went off to this game. He played super well. And I think going forward, Warren Fogle might be a top 6 player. Warren Fogle is who we thought Connor Brown would be. Warren Fogle is playing awesome. Tonight, 5-on-5. You know who had a great game? Leon Draisaitl. Wasn't helped out by anyone. When he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot the Wild at 5-on-5, 12-6. I thought Dylan Holloway, excellent, hanging on to the puck tonight. When he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot the Wild 7-5 at 5-on-5.
Holloway has consistently been one of the best players this whole season, and he got demoted for it. He got less ice time for it. I do not understand some of the decisions that are being made on the coach. Another situation, we had 3 too many men penalties.
Oh, dude, let's talk about that. This was a mess of a game. 3 too many men penalties. There was a goal. I believe it was the tying goal for the Wild. I wrote it down and I cannot find it in my notes because they're super messy. But it was one of the goals. It wasn't a goal actually. But essentially the Oilers kept messing up their changes. Them up so bad. There was a play where Matthias Ekholm went to change and the Oiler who jumped on, they couldn't touch the puck right away because they knew too many men penalty. All of a sudden, Wild throw one. This is in the second period, so it hit Campbell or Campbell saved it, whatever, however you want to put it. But again, there were so many bench errors. There were just so many things wrong with the team tonight. It's unreal. I don't understand how a team does that. 3 too many men on the ice penalties is unacceptable. And that's Jay Woodcroft's fault partially.
Yeah.
Like that is, I get that. Okay. You know, sometimes the puck comes around your bench when you don't expect it. It comes near a guy. Next thing you know, it hits a player and then it's a too many penalty penalty. 3 in 1 game. That's ridiculous.
And to cap it all off, the one at the very end of the third period, no one is even looking. There were 6 players on the ice. Everyone was just skating towards the puck. No one took any time to look around and realize that there were 6 players out there. I think when the ref blew the whistle, people were confused. They were going, what happened? There should be nothing that warranted a stoppage. It was the end of the game. Fine. It was already after an empty net goal. Things were already getting a little bit tussly, but the situation is so dire now. You know, the last game I did a game over for was game 2. And at that point, I was trying so hard to just be positive because there was this hope, right, going into this season that we should be a contender. And right now, we have won 1 game and lost 1 game in overtime. This is just unacceptable. Cap it all off, McDavid is injured. In the beginning, I texted to the group chat. Looks like everyone decided to grow up. Everyone woke up a little bit when McDavid wasn't playing. They looked so good. And then they blow this horrendous third period. And I'm at a loss for words. Afterwards.
Every line worked their butt off in the first period, especially in the first period. The Oilers were out shooting the Wild. I believe they were up 5-0. 8 minutes into the game, they were the significantly better team. At the end of the first, they outshot the Wild 12-8. Everything looked to be in their favor. Yeah, that goal to tie it up went in really late, but it felt good. It felt like the Oilers were in it. It felt like the game was within their reach. And then everything just crumbled. They absolutely just fell apart. ICP, again, another thing tonight. Like, yes, that Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Fogle line scored some goals, but Ryan Nugent Hopkins, and I know plus minus not the best at -4 tonight. Not acceptable. Like with Connor McDavid out, you need to be the second best player on the ice, and he was nowhere close to that. I thought he was handling the puck really well, but it looked like maybe he was just focused a little too much on offense today, trying to put a little bit too much on his back, and his game absolutely crumbled. And yeah, just
look like. If we're looking at the line just by the eye test, right? That second line is doing pretty well. But when you look deeper into it, there's something that is dragging down the entirety of the team. It's not just individual lines going, okay, we're having an off night, yada yada. This is something deeper, and when you have that sort of situation, it is clearly on the coaching staff. There is some message that isn't getting across to everyone on the team.
What was Jay Woodcroft doing? Like, I understand when Draisaitl's going to be out there with the 4th line when you're going 11-7, but what are you doing throwing Adam Ernie out there when Evander Kane's in the box? Like, use your head. Is Adam Ernie have given you any positive value whatsoever in any game he's ever played for the Edmonton Oilers? The guy was dog shit on the Detroit Red Wings. He is not going to be good this year. He sucked. The Detroit Red Wings gave him up for nothing. No one wanted him. You signed him to a PTO. No one knows why you signed him to a contract. And now you're using him in very important situations with Leon Draisaitl. You're tying an anchor to Leon Draisaitl. How many years did we bitch about that with Lucic and whatever? And now you're doing it again. Like that, Jay Woodcroft, use your head. Dylan Holloway, outstanding. Put McLeod out there for a shift. Janmark, I exceeded my expectations. Throw Connor Brown out there. Throw anyone, literally anyone except for Adam Ernie.
And this is another point that you brought up, just came to mind because you brought up McLeod. McLeod has suddenly become so pivotal to this team. McLeod has been fantastic this season. You know, he obviously had a little bit of issue coming into the preseason, so he didn't get the most chance to warm up. But I think he's been great defensively. He's been trying to shoot a little bit more. His speed always has been incredibly deadly, and when he's paired with Fogle, when he's paired with Nuge, when he's paired with Janmark, when he's paired with Holloway, anyone, he's able to kind of bring up their game. The only issue is right now we are down Connor McDavid. You are down the most prolific scorer. He is the best player in the NHL. And the other players, they have to stick to their game. They have to be able to say, all right, we've lost a guy, but we still have to play with that next man up mentality that they did last season. And I didn't see that coming into this season at all. All of them are trying, the first game especially, I think they were all trying so hard to get back into a playoff mode when it's the regular season. They're totally different beasts, and you can't go through this sort of mentality when you're playing these regular season games, because you might not make it to the show.
I thought the Oilers, I thought they had that intent, they had the intensity of a playoff game early on. They knew you can't fall to 1-4 and then next game 1-5, and then we'll see where they sit at the Heritage Classic. Obviously, you're buying that Rangers game, and that's gonna be something. But we'll talk about that later. But seriously, it's unreal. I don't understand the thought process. And something you've talked about Ryan McLeod earlier. One thing that I want to say is, yes, I think Ryan McLeod defensively is turned into a really, really good defensive center. One thing that kind of irritates me a little bit with Ryan McLeod, I love the way he hangs onto the puck when the Oilers start cycling. I do think on dump and chases, the guy's a little weak. It's starting to drive me a little bit nuts, and I know I sound like a boomer when he kind of just waves his stick at the defenseman as he passes by instead of using his body to kind of try and separate the defender from the puck and try and regain possession. That's starting to drive me nuts. He is a little bit, as some would say, soft in that regard, but he still is a really effective, pivotal player for the Edmonton Oilers. When he went out in the late first period, at the end of the first, Ryan McLeod went down the tunnel, right? I was so nervous because all of a sudden the Oilers are looking really weak at center if McLeod's gone. And one thing I do think though, but as we continue on to talk about that, this game, one player that we also need to touch on, because he's been a storyline all year. He scored the only third period goal for the Edmonton Oilers, is Evander Kane. Evander Kane obviously struggling immensely. Every number essentially says that Evander Kane has been playing the worst hockey of his career. He can't handle the puck for anything. And then he goes out. Jay Woodcroft, what does he do? Last game, doesn't play him. He gets demoted, as is the supposed meritocracy should suggest, and goes on with Scott out, complains about his ice time. Next thing you know, and I get Connor McDavid's out. I would put literally anyone else there. I'd put fucking Matthias Janmark on the power play one for all I care at this point. But Evander Kane goes out. Another pivotal thing in that first period, the Oilers had a 5-on-3. They had those multiple 5-on-4 opportunities where it seemed like every time the puck got to Evander Kane in that Connor McDavid spot, he could not make the pass. It was always died in his play. It was like watching Alex Chase back on the power play. It just died on his stick, and it would result in a wild zone exit. It was so frustrating to watch. He killed multiple power plays. Now, again, I do think as the game went on, Evander Kane did get better. Now, Evander Kane getting better is 9 times out of 10 because Evander Kane isn't carrying the puck. If he's the primary puck carrier, he's going to look horrible. If you're asking Evander Kane to make a pass that's over 10 feet, it's going to look horrible. But I thought Evander Kane, as the game went on, when Janmark somehow became one of the secondary puck carrier in the zone instead of Kane, he looked really good when he was kind of just wreaking havoc in front of the net. I thought Evander Kane got better as the game went on, and that, his Gordie Howe hat trick would suggest the same thing. Only third period goal for the Oilers this year, again, set up by Evan Bouchard. Yeah. And what do you think of Kane?
Honestly, yeah, he has gone better throughout the course of this game alone. And I mean, Kane has had a bad situation from last season, right? I mean, getting that cut, horrific injury. It might have been a situation where he rushed back a little bit, but now you're seeing him chucking fists, right? It's clearly not
something. It's something.
It's something, but it's clearly not him still babying his wrists. He's not just missing that shooting touch or anything like that. He should have no problem with his hands right now, but he's just unable to produce at all. The one thing I will say, his effort level, especially in the third period, I saw that tick up in the third period. Yeah.
Yes. This third, second, the end of the third period was the best I've seen of Evander Kane, and now the bar isn't necessarily super high this year for him. Obviously, essentially the way the Oilers are built, though, they need a lot more from Evander Kane still. Even this goal, even this assist isn't necessarily good enough. to be as blunt as that is. It's not good enough. You need more from those guys, especially when you're missing the best player in the NHL, right?
Yeah, it's clearly a situation where he is underperforming, right? He's undoubtedly underperforming his contract right now. And you had comparisons in the past to Milan Lucic, and you know what? I'm hoping this is not a situation where that repeats, but even Lucic at the end of his Flames tenure, he knew his place, right? He knew what he had to do. And Evander Kane, if he is starting to degrade in his offensive prowess, he has to start moving into that level as well, right? Sorry, I missed what you said.
Oh no, I just said it. Yeah, he is. He is starting to degrade in that offense pass. Like, he is not the player that he was, 5 years ago or whatever. He's definitely slower. He definitely but where he's struggling the most is handling the puck. And it's really funny here, just kind of to backtrack and go talk about the goal again. I just looked at the goal save above expected stats, and kind of what we said. If Campbell has 2 of those goals, the ones that we both believe that he should have had, the one in the first at the end of the period where he couldn't cover it, and then the 6-3 goal where it 6-3, 5-3, it doesn't even matter at this point, from Hartman, where he tips it in off his skate and it kind of goes right into Campbell. He has negative 1.6 goals saved above expected. Obviously, you can't stop 1.5 goals. That's 2 goals. Those 2 goals don't go in. Different game. And, the Oilers maybe at least get a point without their captain, because obviously it's a huge thing. But again, there were a lot of players who Brett Kulak, Darnell Nurse, Warren Fogle, I thought played really well. I thought Philip Broberg, it's funny, when Philip Broberg has the puck and he's skating, he's a really, really good puck transitioner. Problem is, he just never does it. He's never, we never unleash Philip Broberg. There's so many things there. I think there's so many little changes the Oilers could make, and it seems like every day at practice now, it's almost it just feels like Dave Tippett's in charge again. And I don't even know. It feels like you're just waiting for okay, what's the stupidest set of lines we can conceive? Okay, this is what they're going to run a practice. There's so many things where you could try to fix, you could try to do. Why isn't Dylan Holloway getting an elevated role in the lineup? And I understand tonight he played a little bit more. Let's see, what was his ice time tonight? Dylan Holloway played, it says 15:04 at all situations. So, okay, that is elevated. Dylan Holloway, I believe, was 10 minutes last game. So, extra 5 minutes for Holloway, kind of expected without McDavid. But you look at someone like Matthew Nyes in Toronto, the Leafs are losing in the third period, down by 2 goals.
Puts the team.
Matthew Nyes scores 2 goals in the third period to send the game to overtime. Toronto ends up winning it. Dylan Holloway is a very comparable player to Matthew Nyes. He's drafted much higher than Matthew Nyes. Very comparable numbers in college. Both excel in their skating and their puck handling and their shooting. Everything about them is so similar. The only difference between those 2 players this year is Sheldon Keefe has put Matthew Nyes in a trusted role in a situation to succeed, whereas Dylan Holloway is thrust onto the 4th line. And again, I do like him on a line with Brown and McLeod, and again, as much as we like that line, as much as their expected goals are off the charts, as much as they consistently hem opposition in their own zone, as much as they win the matchup against other teams' third lines, the problem is, they're not scoring together. There's no tangible results. And we're at the point where you're 1-4, and I don't care if the Oilers were rocking a 80% expected goals at this point. You're not winning. We got to make some changes here. And I get McDavid's not going to be in that next game, obviously. He might be in for the Heritage Classic. I honestly, if I was betting my money on it, I believe he's going to play in that Heritage Classic.
I mean, I hope so. And I know we want to get to that. We want to start talking about the Heritage Classic. And if you missed the announcement, we do have a big one coming up. But one last point on Holloway, and then I think we'll wrap up talking about this game. Holloway is a fantastic player when he's given minutes and the opportunity. Last season when he played with McDavid, I think the first shift or something like that, they had an amazing time, and that first game he scored a goal from McDavid. Right there is. Yeah, I can't remember exactly which one, but yeah, he has hands. He's able to get into dirty areas and do that work too. He's been on the 4th line grinding it out, no complaints. He's been on a more elevated role when people have struggled, and he's made it work as well. He's just not being given the chances right now. And the most egregious thing is, okay, Connor McDavid's injured. Your wingers are not producing. Connor Brown's been demoted. Kane is having a real tough go. Let's stick Janmark on the second line. You know what? No, let's stick him on the first line. I do not understand the logic behind just not giving a young kid a chance who is offensively gifted, who is a high draft pick. He has the pedigree, and he's put the effort in to do everything you've asked of him. Like, I just don't see why you don't give him the chance.
He's performing exceptionally well in a limited role. You're not elevating his role. And you know what? The Oilers have clear holes on their team. And I love Dylan Holloway. I think Dylan Holloway should be an Edmonton Oiler. If they are sticking with Jay Woodcroft, and if this is the path that they want to go down, if you're not going to utilize this player, trade him to someone who will. And get back a piece that you're going to utilize. And again, my number one option is the Oilers have Dylan Holloway on their team and he excels as an Edmonton Oiler. I think that's the best case scenario. But if you have this high-end asset that you're just shoving on the fourth line and, putting Adam, like, I bet you, I haven't checked exactly, but I would believe that Adam Ernie played more with Leon Draisaitl today than Dylan Holloway did. I know Holloway had 2 shifts with Draisaitl, one in the third, one in the first, right at the end, with 2 minutes left. I believe Adam Ernie played more with Leon Draisaitl. Now, part of that is being on that fourth line, 11-7. But at the end of the day, if you have this piece that you don't want to use, you do not trust, trade him, get back, whether it's a right shot defenseman, whether it's a top 6 forward. I don't know if I could even do that unless it's UC Soros or someone. But we can't keep doing this. And again, we can sit here and nitpick and say, okay, Bouchard should have pinched there. Bouchard should have had his man in the corner. And full on agree. Evan Bouchard cannot make these mistakes that he's made the last 6 games. Cannot happen anymore. Evan Bouchard needs to smarten up. He needs to have a nap. He needs to sit down, watch the film. He needs to get a smack on the face. I don't know what it is, but something needs to change with the way Evan Bouchard's playing defensively. Something needs to change in the way the entire team's playing defensively, though. But again, even if this team was a defensive stall, let's say they only allow 20 shots on net, you're still having 800 save percentage from your goalie. 90% of the time, or at this point, 80% of the time,
just 2 stinkers that go in, right? Like, just unacceptable stinkers, no matter who's in net.
This was a Jonas Gustafsson performance today. You're robbing guys in the second, and you're letting in goals. Like, how the hell did that go in? It's a Peter Mrazek performance. These are guys that are not high-end goalies. It doesn't matter how many pucks hit you. Like, when you're in net, I don't care. People aren't going to like this. Hockey is luck. Obviously, hockey is luck. Like, there's a lot of skill and, that goes into it. But at the end of the day, like you saw in the Vegas series, a lot of that is luck.
It's a huge factor.
It's luck. Campbell in the second period, did he make some good plays? Yes. Did he get exceptionally lucky? Absolutely. That's the thing. He's getting exceptionally lucky when he's playing good, and he's still letting in some of those really, really atrocious goals that end up costing you every single game. And how many games can we say that the Oilers have had the better goalie on the ice? Honestly, what? 1 against Nashville? And it was funny enough, UC Soros, who was the worst goalie, who ended up getting pulled. But regardless, it cannot continue. If these guys in net don't pull it together, I don't care what you say about the coverage. It does not matter. 800 is not good enough. Every single game, it's like this. I feel like the Oilers are the only fans where every game we have this giant narrative, this giant push from media and fans, everything. Okay, we have to break down every single goal and say, oh, well, this guy, this. You need to be an X's and O's expert to be able to watch the Edmonton Oilers and break down a goal, because every goal is never the goalie's fault. It's always, there's defensive misplays from every team in every single game. They are going to happen. The difference between the best teams and the worst teams, obviously, is very boiled down. Their goalies stop those plays. They make a save. When there's a breakaway in the third period, are you expected to save that? No, but best teams, their goalies save it.
Winning teams always seem to have goalies go on these magical runs where their average is average. That's fine. Like, the little stinkers, they never go in. And just every game, maybe once every 2 games, 1 or 2 amazing stops that are above what they should be expected to do, right? That's the recipe for goalies. And we've had names, again, like last playoffs, Vegas rode Adin Hill. Like, Adin Hill is not a lights out amazing goalie. Like, he's just a guy. He's serviceable. You get him in there, and as long as he's having a good season, apparently he can win you a cup, right? With the only exception being Vasilevsky. Like, this should be good enough if you are just an average goaltender. And our goaltenders have been either like failing at these highlight reel saves and failing in the average department, or getting average and just not getting it quite enough. And that's when the defensive lapses really, really hurt us, right? So let's stop talking about this game because it's disappointing. Like, usually, I will say one thing though. Usually games against the Minnesota Wild are dreadfully boring, like insanely dull in the past. And this is a 7-4 game, right? And I felt like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. So at least props to that. It was an entertaining game. If you aren't a fan of the Edmonton Oilers, it was a fun watch.
It's just sad for me looking back at my notes and just saying, like, what if, they have those four they have those 4 power plays in the first period. Draisaitl hits the post. Draisaitl played exceptional tonight. Like, I think that's the one guy we didn't give our stars to. He was on the ice for 1 goal for, 0 goals against him. So like, Leon showed up. He did what he was asked to. He's always one of the best players in the world, but he elevated his game to that level that we know he can reach, that we've seen him reach multiple times before in the playoffs, and we've seen him reach 3 years ago when Connor McDavid missed time, and he did everything that was asked to. He made Matthias Janmark look like a legitimate top 6 forward. He got Evander Kane to play, I mean, not high praise, but the best hockey we've seen from Evander Kane this season later on in the game. He elevated everyone who was around him. All the Oilers needed to do was tread water with their bottom 6, just be smart defensively, just make the simple play, and they just never
the average
did that.
Defensive play.
They never did that once.
Yeah, it's a wasted performance from Leon Draisaitl, Warren Foegele, and many others that were just better than they were in the past. But let's move on. We'll talk about the big announcement. Zach, obviously, the Oilers are going to be playing. Oh, did you?
Oh, no, sorry. No, you go ahead. Go ahead with this. Yeah, this is more important.
Obviously, the Oilers are going to be going up against the Flames this Sunday for the Heritage Classic. But this is an amazing thing for Game Over. We are going to have our first Game Over Edmonton, Game Over Calgary live in-person show after the Heritage Classic. The stream might be a little bit later than you're used to. It won't happen immediately after the Heritage Classic, but come down to the Pint on White. We will be there. Zach, Avery, myself, Peter, Audie from Game Over Calgary, as well as a couple of folks from out east.
Yep.
Please, you don't want to miss this one. We don't know when there's going to be another live event. So head down to the bottom of the description here. You can find tickets on Eventbrite. I don't know what the limit is. Zach,
it's 50. It's 50 right now. When they sell out, they will release another batch. Get your tickets quick, though. There is a capacity on the bar. If the Oilers win, which who knows at this point, it'll be really busy. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited to come up to Edmonton to finally meet everyone in person because, I've only met Avery once. That's the only guy from SDPN I've ever actually met in person. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm super excited.
We're super excited to meet you as well. Some loyal listeners for a long time. We definitely want to see you guys there. It's our first live in-person Game Over for Edmonton and Calgary. And if you are, it's a Sunday night, it's going to be a little bit late. If you're going to indulge in a couple of beverages, do so. But if you can't, you have work the next morning or whatever, the folks at Temperance Brewing, the Temperance Spirits will be there. If you aren't able to drink alcohol that night, they will be providing non-alcoholic cocktails, beers, spirits. Once again, it's going to be Sober October, so it's going to be a lot of fun no matter what. Be there. Again, reserve spots. The tickets are free. We will have a limited number of tickets. We don't know exactly how many, but those are limited, and it is an event that's happening this Sunday. So that's the event. Big announcement, Zach.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. Now, everyone was talking about, like, just in terms of riding the ship going forward here, like, what are you thinking? What do you do? I saw everyone else in the chat talking about it, so we can jump into our press
Let's do the
conference or
presser.
whatever you want to call it. But yeah, like, if anyone's got any questions about what you think, or just any ideas for what the Oilers should do to right the ship, write them in chat. Let us know. We'll respond. I'm going to scroll up here in chat, take a look. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know what to say. I
let's
don't
talk.
even know what to do.
The first thing that comes to mind is system, right? That's the biggest thing that's changed.
Good point. So, Dennis, do you like? I don't know what to do about that. That it's such a major issue that everyone on the team is clearly struggling with. The defense don't know what they're doing. The forwards cannot create off the rush. Like there's very little rush opportunities happening for Edmonton this season as opposed to last season when they were the best team off the rush in the NHL. Now, like, do you just scrap the system 6 games into the year after you spent an entire month in September and who knows how long before that at the captain's gates implementing this system? What do you do? Would you think any NHL head coach would just do that? Like they're stubborn. That's them just admitting they're wrong. Like, how do you do that?
Look, I know there's a certain prestige to being an NHL head coach. I've never been there, obviously. Yeah. I haven't been a coach at any level. But if you are stubborn to the point where you are able to just let your team lose, I don't know, 10 games, that means that you gotta go. People have to be adaptable. You're trying to fit this system largely because it really helped Vegas in the postseason. And we wanted to learn something similar. You know, let's knuckle down defensively. Let's completely revamp this. Let's try and change our fates in the postseason. Well, based on this pace, you're not going to the postseason.
Nope, not even close.
What's the point, right?
Like, you can't change. I don't think they're going to change the system right away. If it's like this 20 games in and there still is immense struggles, they're going to switch the system, but that might be too little too late already. Again, you can't win the Stanley Cup in October.
Sure can't lose it.
As that is. So, like, I don't know what to do there. Now, I do think that I have a feeling they're going to make a trade earlier on than we're kind of used to in the season here. I've heard it keeps getting louder and louder when people are talking about that the need for a right defenseman. I think they're going to do something on that front. Now, the bigger question is on that for me, how do you go with the goaltending? Are you okay with just hoping that these guys find it? Or are we getting to the point where it's so drastic? If this season goes in the shitter, this could be an all-time level calamity. This could be a calamity like no NHL team has ever seen. This could be a 2012 end of the world level calamity if they do not make the playoffs. Do you cut bait with do you get another goalie? Do you make a drastic change? Can you make a drastic change in net?
I just don't know if you can, right? Look, I'm a Ken Holland believer. I trust that man can work his magic. But this, from my perspective, from my abilities, I just don't think it's possible to move on from Jack Campbell. Stuart Skinner, I think it's a little early to move on from him, right? And given that we don't have anyone in the system, unless you're really able to just have one team bite the bullet for you for 4 years of Jack Campbell at $5 million.
That's the thing where you kind of doing that Cal Peterson type deal, and Cal Peterson did have a lot less term on his deal than Stuart Skinner or than Jack Campbell, sorry, but it was a comparable cap hit. Now the thing is, when you do that, you send that contract away, you're depreciating the value of your own asset, that like just Dylan Holloway, for example, you're taking away from them that to get them to take Jack Campbell instead of spending that value on the best asset possible. Again, in the season, I don't think there's a way you can get rid of either of them. Now, Stuart Skinner's young. Stuart Skinner is someone who you can keep for the next 4 years and be fine. But you need significantly better than what we've gotten from Jack Campbell thus far this season. And it's not an understatement. Like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you how you do it and you get someone who you get them to either retain, or you use you move out CC and you spend that cap hit on a goalie and you just carry a $15 million goalie tandem
Yeah.
with 3 goalies this year, and then you buy out Campbell in the offseason. But I shouldn't be talking about it. Again, it's been 3 games, but again, this isn't a normal season. This is not a normal team. This is a team that was saying stuff like cup or bust, cup or bust, cup or bust. When you're talking like that, you cannot be wasting things like this.
And keep in mind too, right? We've watched a lot of Oilers hockey even before we started doing Game Over. We've watched this team lose before. We've watched this team go on losing streaks before, and you've definitely
mostly watched this team lose.
You've definitely watched this team throw up horrendous games against, honestly, people that they shouldn't be losing against. I'm thinking that Columbus game that you had to do, and the Anaheim game that you had to do. Wow, you had some real stinkers last year. Those were still times when, you know what, it's fine. We're not panicking. They looked good in the game. These 5 games, these 5 losses, they've looked good in what, like
Nashville.
1.5? No, the 5 losses specifically.
Oh, and the losses. They look good against Winnipeg. They probably deserved a better fate. They look good against Vancouver in the second game. They probably deserved a better fate. Again, we don't count those, though, obviously. At the end of the day, they don't get points for looking good in the game. Vegas is already 6-0. Edmonton has 2 points. Vegas has 12. You are very far behind. Will they catch Vegas? Honestly, odds are probably not. Last year, when I sat there and the Oilers were 3 games above 500 and they lost to Anaheim in an embarrassing fashion halfway through the season, that December stretch where they went 2-15, I sat here and I sat at my computer and I said they're still going to finish in second. And you know what happened? They finished in second. I do not have that same faith this year. Like they're just ramming their head against the wall and it's not working. So instead of making changes, they're ramming their head even harder. And then when they do try and make changes, they're the most ass-first backwards wild changes you could ever think of. Like it does not make sense. It does not make sense.
Right? There's always situations where you look at it and you go, okay, yeah, they deserved a little bit better on that one. Okay, they deserve better on that one. And this season, save for one, I wouldn't even like the second Vancouver game. Okay, like I'll say, yeah, maybe I'll give him half a game for that. 1.5 is not good enough out of the 5 compared to the losing streaks of the past. This is just a situation where I'm not considering like the next game against New York, right? I'm not considering a situation. Well, I really hope that, you know, we get a really just dominant performance by the Oilers and they really just come back. I'm now just hoping, please play Oilers hockey, right? Play a game where we can have our licks and chances and we will dish them out as well.
And you know what Oilers hockey is? Oilers hockey is high-flying offense. Yeah. Oilers hockey is winning a game 7-6, 5-4. Oilers hockey is being down by 4 goals in the third period and being almost certain that they were going to at least give an effort to come back. Being absolutely believing that down 3 goals, if they score 1, they're going to get the next 2. And you know what? I have not felt that once this year. When the Oilers went down by 2, it was game over, wrap it up, get ready for the show tonight. And you know what one of the problems is, and we saw people who know X's and O's way better than us, like Jack Hahn and Bruce Kurlock kind of point out, that this defensive system that they're running is meant to limit the high-quality chances in the Oilers zone. What's happened this year? All they've done is limit their own offense, because with this system, the transition opportunities are not going to be there. When a team like Vegas runs this, and they got the Shea Theodores, and they got the Alex Petrangelo, and they got the Nick Haggs, they can make a breakout pass to those players. Yes, it's going to be a little bit easier to jumpstart your offense. The Oilers are relying on Desharnais and Kulak and Nurse and these guys who aren't exceptional passers, nowhere near the level of Vegas's guys. They're inhibiting their own offense, and it's not like goals against have dropped, really.
Yeah.
All they've done is drop their own goals for. They got 7 goals scored on them. Okay, an empty net, 6 goals tonight, 8 goals against in the first game. Every night, there's something. And this is not working. If they just are stubborn and stick to it, you know,
that's going to be an issue. And next game, again, it's New York. The Rangers are coming. They're coming to town. Think back to Draisaitl in New York when they were down 3 goals. Draisaitl looks at New York.
7-5. Was it that game?
Something like that.
Say the retirement night. Is that what we're talking about? Or is that too far away? There was one with Taylor Hall and Draisaitl, I believe, for the Oilers, won with 7 goals. Then there was the New Year's Eve night with Yamamoto, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. Is that what the one we're talking about?
Draisaitl pointed out, you know what? We're coming back. Just you wait. They're down 2-3 goals. It doesn't matter. We're coming back. Just you wait. Yep. And exactly. We haven't been able to get that hope in any Oilers game so far. Next game.
Well, that game you're talking about, that was the game where McDavid did beat 4 guys.
Yep. Right? That was the situation. That
was the game.
So when you have that level of confidence, that level of it's not just the team's confidence, the fans' confidence, be able to say, you know what, we're not out of it. Currently, every game we've watched this season, Oilers fans seems like as soon as we're down 1, it's over. As soon as the other team ties it, it's over. We're a bust. It's time to just sell the farm. Let's get whatever assets we can.
Mm-hmm. There's no fight back in this team right now. It's sad to watch. They don't look like the team that lost to Vegas last year. Not even close. There needs to be, I know it's just the 4th line, but Adam Ernie cannot play another game for the Edmonton Oilers. Derek Ryan looks rough. He's getting old. I'd like to see some guys who could skate. I'd like to see a Lane Peterson. I'd love to see a Raphael Lavoie. It's not working right now what we're doing. It is absolutely not working. You're going up against the Rangers. The Rangers are a good team. I believe they're losing to Calgary right now. Or if they haven't lost
I think they
already.
won. I think they actually won tonight.
Okay, they won. So, I mean, hopefully they come on a little bit. They're like, oh, we're playing the Oilers without McDavid. We can take it easy tonight. It's going to be an easy win. And the Oilers somehow squeak 1 out, because going into the Heritage Classic 1-5-1 would be an absolute emergency disaster. I don't even know what to call it.
It'd be a nightmare.
It would be a nightmare. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs fixing. I don't even know what to say at this point, because it behooves me. Some of these plays are just so uncharacteristic, and we can sit here and I see some people starting the noise for Jay Woodcroft's head is getting turned up a tiny little bit, and I'm not there. I don't think that they should fire Jay Woodcroft. We heard Phil Jackson. We heard Jeff Jackson say that Jeff Jackson and Connor McDavid say that he's one of the top 3 coaches in the NHL. Everyone likes Jay Woodcroft. Is he making questionable decisions from a fan's perspective? Absolutely. Are there things I want Jay Woodcroft to do? Absolutely. I want him to play the youth. It just doesn't seem like he wants to, but you can't fire a coach. You can't fire a coach with this team's reputation. You can't do it.
The only thing I think that would be inexcusable is if over the next string of games, nothing gets tweaked. You can't keep going back to the same thing time and time again when it very clearly isn't working after 6 games. You got to tweak something. Like you said, if it's a roster situation, you bring up some younger blood, you try and get a little bit more energy into things. Fine. If it's a situation where, you just change the system a little bit, you don't keep trying this new defensive system, you go back maybe a little bit to more high flying offense, traditional Oilers hockey, that's fine too. Just try something.
I see in the chat, sorry, Dackey's talking about how he doesn't blame Woody, but he blames the goalie coach and the defensive coach. Now, I don't really understand the blame on Dustin Schwartz. I don't know. The Oilers had good goalies under Schwartz. They've had bad goalies under Schwartz. I'm just going to sit here and say that Campbell, who had these same problems with other goalie coaches, just is struggling. I'm not going to sit here and blame that on Schwartz or another thing. And another thing I want to say about this game, early on when the Oilers were killing their penalty against Minnesota, there were a lot of those zone denials that came on in the back half of last year. They were really quick with their sticks. They were really aggressive. They were relentless on the forecheck. And it kind of just evaporated when I don't know if they sit back and try to protect that lead, even though they don't really have that lead for that long, because they went to intermission and then immediately right in the 3rd, the Wild tie it and just takes off from there. So I don't know. We need better transition, but I think that it goes for our defensemen. It goes back to that system that we had before. But
you see the issues that we're having. It's so clear to any fan that's watched Oilers hockey for a period of time, right? You see the issues of this team, and if you just keep hammering your skull into the brick wall that is these strings of failures, you're not going to have a job for much longer. So I think it's too early to start calling for Woodcroft's head, but again, if you don't adjust, In the regular season, you don't adjust. In the playoffs, you have no shot. The playoff is all about adjustments, little micro adjustments you make even within the game itself, right?
And that's what Bruce Cassidy used to push Vegas over Edmonton. That was one of those things, but Woodcroft got out coached. But again, we just got to sit here and see. We got to see if something changes. There needs to be changes. There needs to be, beyond taking out Adam Ernie, there needs to be changes to this lineup.
Guys, Oilers, do something. And that's going to be it for us. That's it's a long show as well tonight. Zach, it was fantastic. It's been a long time since we've done a dynamic duo broadcast. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I could tell. The last show we did was in middle of May last year. I don't know if you remember that game. It was the Oilers getting eliminated by the Vegas Golden Knights, game 6, but who's counting that? Who remembers that? This was a blast. I'm super happy to be back with you. We're going to be back next show, obviously, when the Oilers take on the Rangers, and fucking hope that they don't fall 1-5-1, because I don't even know. I don't know what to do. I don't know.
You know what? You will see Zach and I's reaction on Thursday, October 26th. Puck drop is at 7 Mountain Time against the New York Rangers. If we're feeling great, then things are looking into a good direction. If we continue with this level of ranting, then heck, blow it up. Fire Woodcroft, sell McDavid for assets, whatever.
Okay, chill out. Chill the fuck. Calm the fuck down. Let's relax. You saw McDavid, I'm going with him. We're a package.
Package deal. Game over Edmonton goes to game over wherever the hell McDavid plays. Okay, that's going to be it for it tonight. Check out the link in the description for the Eventbrite page. Again, it's the first live event in person for Game Over Edmonton and Game Over Calgary. After the Heritage Classic, we will be at the Pint near White Avenue. Check it out. That's it for us tonight. We've been going on pretty long. Thank you so much for just almost an hour of content. Zach, where can they find you?
You can find me at ZWheel97, and on Sunday night you can find me at the Pint on White. So come down, hang out, listen to. We're going to be doing a live Game Over. Come hang out with Dennis and I and have a non-alcoholic beer or an alcoholic beer. Your choice.
Right on. And again, we will be joined by Avery from Game Over Edmonton and Peter and Audie from Game Over Calgary. Check it out. You don't want to miss it. Tickets are limited. That's it for us tonight. Take care, everyone.
So long.